Long ago, in the misty mountains of the east, there stood a peaceful monastery surrounded by bamboo forests and blooming lotus ponds. Inside that monastery lived an old monk, wise and calm. He had no gold, no fame, no luxury, yet his wisdom was known far and wide. People from distant lands traveled through forests and rivers just to meet him. They came seeking answers, enlightenment, and truth. One day, a young scholar began his journey toward that monastery. He had spent years studying in great cities, reading thick books, learning philosophy and logic. He was intelligent and proud of it. As he walked, he whispered to himself, "I have studied the deepest knowledge of life. Surely this monk can teach me something new, something greater than all I know." The scholar's footsteps echoed through the quiet forest path. Birds sang softly, leaves danced in the wind, but his mind was too loud to hear the peace around him. When he reached the monastery gate, he saw a group of monks sweeping the courtyard. They moved slowly and peacefully, each motion filled with purpose. The young man called out, "I am here to see the great master. I have come to learn wisdom." The monks bowed and guided him to the master's small room, a simple place with wooden floors, a low table, and shelves of scrolls. There sat the old monk, eyes calm like a still lake, hands resting gently on his lap. The scholar bowed, but only slightly, and said proudly, "Master, I have studied for many years. I have learned from the greatest teachers. I have come to you for the ultimate truth." The old monk smiled kindly. "Very well," he said softly. "But first, would you care for a cup of tea?" The scholar agreed. He sat down with a confident smile. "This monk seems simple," he thought, "but I will be patient." The monk brought out a pot of tea, steaming and fragrant. He began to pour the tea into the scholar's cup. The cup filled and filled and kept filling. The scholar watched in shock as tea began to spill over the edge, onto the table, onto the floor, even onto his robe. "Stop!" he cried. "Can't you see? The cup is full." The monk stopped pouring. He looked at the scholar with gentle eyes and said, "Yes, my friend, the cup is full, just like your mind. How can I teach you anything unless you first empty your cup?" Silence filled the room. The young scholar froze, his pride melting away, drop by drop, just like the tea that had spilled to the floor. He lowered his head. He understood. From that day, the scholar stayed in the monastery. He no longer came as a master of books, but as a humble student. Every morning he swept the floor, every afternoon he helped the monks in the garden, and every night he listened to the wind blowing softly through the bamboo. He began to notice small things, the sound of a single raindrop, the rhythm of his own breathing, the peace in silence. Slowly, his heart began to change. He stopped trying to prove what he knew. He stopped interrupting others to show he was right. He began to listen, truly listen. The old monk never scolded him. He never gave long lectures. He simply showed, through silence and presence, what wisdom truly looked like. Seasons passed. The snow fell, melted, and returned again. The young man's pride had faded like mist in the morning sun. One day, as he sat quietly by the pond, he watched the reflection of the sky ripple in the water. He suddenly realized, knowledge fills the mind, but humility opens the heart. At that moment, he felt lighter. He smiled, closed his eyes, and whispered, "My cup is empty now, and I am ready to be filled with truth." Years went by. The scholar became a monk himself, wise, gentle, and kind. Travelers came to see him, just as he had once visited his master. One of them asked, "Master, you have studied for many years. What is the greatest lesson Your teacher taught you. The monk smiled softly and replied, He taught me the power of an empty cup. My dear listener, this story is not only about a monk and his student. It is about you and me. Our minds are like that cup. Every day, we fill it with thoughts, pride, opinions, and noise. We fill it so much that there's no space left for new ideas, for learning, or for peace. To grow, we must empty our cup. Let go of pride. Let go of the need to be right. Let go of the constant chatter of the mind. Only then can new wisdom flow in. Only then can peace and clarity find a home within us. Remember, learning doesn't happen when we know everything. It happens when we are willing to say, I don't know, but I'm ready to understand. So tonight, as you listen to this story, take a deep breath and imagine your cup emptying. Slowly, quietly. Let go of what's heavy. Let go of what's loud. And let your heart become light and open, like the morning sky after rain. Because when the cup is empty, life can pour into you again, with peace, love, and understanding. That is the true lesson of the empty cup. Thank you for listening to Story Bloom English.